Let's go. All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another specials for the Little Hammers production. We got on finals week Dean Raman. Thank you, the Dean of Engineering for Purdue University. Thank you for making time today on this Thursday morning. We really appreciate you being here and enlightening the world on what the engineering has going on at Purdue. So thank you.
Well, delighted, Ben and Tommy, to be on Little Hammers. Was looking forward to it, and I know it's a busy time for all of you with exams and all, but appreciate the chance to talk.
No, we appreciate it. So I want to start off with your journey in academia. So I read in your part in the Purdue website, you said you love being in the trenches, right? Is that true?
Oh, very much so. This is part of it. That's why I'm here today. These are the trenches. No,
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely.
Could you describe what that means in terms of where are the trenches for you? How did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, so let's begin with, all of us at some point, I guess. If I were to turn around and ask you guys, right, when did you decide, okay, I want to do engineering?
Mm-hmm.
When did that happen? And you may think when you actually took a conscious decision, but you may also know moments before that which you realize that in retrospect that, I took the decision at that time because I was really influenced by that early on. I just didn't see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll talk about that a little bit and how it's connected to the trenches. So I was in middle school. I was born and raised in India, and I had to do a middle school science project, and I said maybe I should go to a local university and find someone to share a project, and so I went to a local university called the Indian Institute of Technology in Delhi. I had no idea, I did not know anyone there, right? So I pretty much go the first building on the right. I go to the very first office, knock on the door, no one's there. I go to the next one, someone opens it, and this lady is like a professor in a center for rural technology. I did not know what that was and what that was about, and basically she just said, yeah, I mean, it'd be great if you could help with this project. We got this project, and the project was really about building better cook stoves for rural women, so, and the idea was, how do you use less wood, and how do you make it more efficient, and how do you make the stoves more reliable? How do you conserve heat in them? Can you do other things like even keep water, like all the heat that's coming out, can you store and heat water? Is there some thermal storage you can do and all that? And probably the best part of the job was that summer there was actually a demonstration we had to do in villages, right, to show these women how to make this stuff. And so clay, straw, the designs going in, the piping going in, all stuff, right? I really, really appreciated that. Looking back, that was formative for me. Middle school, I was like, my God, this is great stuff. I mean, I didn't realize it, but that was that subconscious experience that later on, in retrospect, I go, well, that's what made me what I am today. And so since then, I did end up going to that institution for my undergraduate degree. Came to Purdue right after that. I'm a Boilermaker alumnus. Went to the West Coast, was in Germany doing a postdoc, and came to Purdue as a faculty member after that. But that essence of, rolling up my sleeves, getting my hands dirty, working with stakeholders, right? That's what I mean by being in the trenches, and I absolutely love it. Love doing the same thing in the classroom with students, and so when I'm actually not doing something with my hands, I feel, or with, stakeholders, when I'm not in the field, I don't think I'm really doing engineering,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's the long and short of the story.
No, I was like that's what a lot of us use nowadays. The term we're in the trenches, going through the finals weeks, and an example of that. So
right.
I really related to it when you said that.
Mm-hmm.
So
4 exams, 3 days. You got weeks to prepare and figure it out.
Yeah, I know it's always the grind, but no, sweet. Then you said you got your bachelor's in India, right? And
Correct.
Then you got your master's at Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
Then you went to Berkeley, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then you came back to Purdue, right? So what was that decision coming back to Purdue then? With that, because he,
Yeah, I mean, it was, I applied because it's an excellent place. Great colleagues, really strong in the area that I work in, which is structural dynamics, and mechanical engineering. I'm an ME, by the way. And it was really good. I had a couple of offers, but I remember talking to my dad and saying, hey, which path should I take? Should I go here or should I go to the East Coast where I had an offer? And he told me, look, go where you feel you're going to be better supported. Right? Don't worry about big city coast. You're early in your career. Just go where you're going to be better supported. And like to me, it was obvious. It's going to be here. And I came here. I started 2000 January. Actually flew in from Germany, where I was doing a postdoc. Came here, started as an assistant professor, and I've had a blast. It's been a lot of fun since then.
What made you want to stay in the academic field and not pursue like a what was it called, a professional career?
No, that's a good question. When I, like you all, I did internships. Like when I was an undergraduate, I wanted to be sure that I wanted to have that experience, right? And so I remember on my internships, I worked really, really hard, right? So like in some places, like when you finish at 5 o'clock, I would stay until I'd do the second shift as well. I'd double shift it just because I was enjoying myself so much. And I realized, basically I told myself at the time, I know I can be good at this. I can do this anytime. And at the same time, I'd been doing undergraduate research, right? So those are the two experiences. So do I follow the research path or do I follow the industry path? I figured I got the industry path. I know I can do this and I'll be good at it. But that one is intriguing. I don't know if I can or not. So let me try that out now. And so kind of went down that path a little more, kind of got hooked on to research. I love the teaching side of it. I love being with students, and I think that's what drives the whole thing. I mean, ultimately, you got to really like being with students, and that's exciting to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What kind of research did you do? What?
It's in vibrations, how things vibrate and shake. That's what I keep working on. All kinds of applications. I worked on problems related to how you can use vibrations to cool electronics.
Interesting.
We actually, we had our dynamics exam yesterday, and the last chapter was on vibrations and frequencies and periods and stuff like that.
There you go. It's important in a lot of cases. Most people think of it as, hey, you don't want things to vibrate, right? Because like if they vibrate, they kind of shake and break and stuff, right? You don't want that to happen. But I've kind of focused on problems where it's a good thing. What do you do to make sure you want things to be vibrating? And that's interesting. So one are these piezoelectric fans. Early in my career, I started working on those things. And since then, I've been working in micro nanotechnology, things that vibrate and resonate, oscillators, scanning probe microscopes, and use the whole vibration stuff that civil engineers also do, but like just applied in a different setting where it's helpful and useful to actually have them.
So I know Purdue is a big name in semiconductors in the industry now, and especially in the U.S. and in the world. And we just got news that SK Hynix is going to build a factory here. So what do you think, like the infrastructure that comes with that, along with just the factory for them making chips here, or semiconductors?
Yeah, I'm super, super excited about that development. It's a big deal for us for many reasons. First, it is the single largest tech-based economic development investment in the state of Indiana in our history. Secondly, it's not just a fab, but it's also an R&D facility, which is really great. So that's what we call, more future-proof jobs, right? For Indiana is like more on the research side, development side of stuff. And the third reason I'm excited about it is, what is it really about? There are many kinds of fabs. You're aware of what TSMC is doing, for example, in Phoenix, etc. This one focuses on high bandwidth memory, that is being used right now to power AI's processors, that NVIDIA has. So NVIDIA is AI processors. So what's going to be happening here is right here in our backyard, we're going to be researching and fabbing a key element of the future of AI in this country, right? So it's really, really important. So if you really think of the whole CHIPS Act and what we were trying to do as a country is onshore, nearshore critical technology, right, for national security purposes. And in this particular case, how many more important technologies can you think about other than, in the coming years that are going to be important in the coming years than AI? So the chips for AI, a key part of that technology is going to be produced right here. So I'm really happy that this has happened. It's a key, very important piece in the onshoring of that critical technology here in the United States. Excited for it as well. Now, going back to your question on what's it going to take, well, West Lafayette is going to change. It's going to change a lot because of it, I think. I mean, in a really good way. But going to your original point, what else is needed besides the fab and R&D? Well, it turns out there's a whole supply chain that comes with such a facility. It's chemicals. There's going to be a lot of construction. Construction needs to actually build these facilities. There's specialty chemicals. There's all kinds of other suppliers, chemicals, gases, materials, just a whole bunch of different things, right? Fixtures, OEMs, lots of OEM needs for things. And many of those supply chains need to have some co-location, near, the fab. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of that too. It's not just this. It's going to be this and that happening in the future. So the whole ecosystem is going to grow.
How do you think that's going to How do you think that's going to benefit students here, undergrad and graduate?
Well, hey, both of you have done internships. You're in the nation's best construction engineering program, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll bet you most of you did your internships far away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Right. Now imagine if, you are doing an internship at, one of these companies here. You do your internship right in the morning and come out in the afternoon, take your classes. Guess what? You're going to be graduating on time, even before time.
Yeah.
With all that experience built in. It's really about that integrated internship and study experience. You can build all this in together, right? So, and hey, how about jobs, right? Those jobs are also there. Once you've done your internships there, hey, maybe you want to stay here, right? Raise a family and all that. So it's really exciting for students, right? That if you can get an opportunity to work and learn at the same time, that's amazing, right, to be able to do that, right? So I think that's a really interesting opportunity. And I do think the opportunity is going to be across many things, not just all engineerings, but beyond engineering, right? So there's going to be all kinds of internship opportunities to be embedded while making progress on your degree. Pretty exciting.
Do you think so? That's going to be very beneficial for the exponential learning purposes, right,
Big
at
deal.
Purdue? Because I know that was one of your part of your goals, right? You want to increase the exponential, I guess, for engineers, right, at Purdue, not make them good engineers, but great engineers, I think you used, right? And what has been like a major part, you get great talent out of Purdue, but what do you think of a way that engineers can improve, like, from graduating?
Yeah, no. Why I'm a big fan of experiential learning is, at universities we do tend to think what happens in the classroom and there's instructional labs. Don't get me wrong, that's where the rigor really comes. That's the foundation. And you can build in a lot of professional skills in those experiences. Teamwork, ideation, all that stuff can be done. But I'm just a believer that, again, going back to being in the trenches, is absolutely essential for professional skills, especially if done well. It's really good. So I feel skills such as communication, adapting, learning. There's so much learning involved. Every time you go to a company, the company culture is completely different. Understanding who the players are quickly within an internship, figuring out who the right people are, how do you work with them effectively, how do you get the job done. It is really challenging. And so that experiential learning, I think, is really a place that we're trying to place a lot of emphasis on. We have removed fees that students used to have to pay for registering for internships or co-ops. That was the first thing. One of the first things I did, starting up as dean, and so we're seeing a lot of these registered internships go up really quickly. Not construction engineering because it's required for you. You got it all worked out, and Brandon's helping all of you really well, and the entire team, of course. But it's not uniform. Your experience is not uniform across all engineering students, and so trying to really lean in on that is something I'm excited about. But it's really about the professional skills. It's about how do you communicate, how do you team, how do you adapt, how do you adapt to cultures. In a company you could be moved from one division to another. How do you learn about the business quickly? So the ability to quickly adapt, learn, and be effective is what it's going to take. As soon as you go to a company, it'll be a new environment, right? How do you quickly do that? And by the way, you're probably not going to be staying in the same job for 4 decades after you graduate from here. You're going to be doing different things, and so I think it's kind of having those different cultures. Really being in the trenches, learning about cultures, communicating effectively, working in teams, leading where needed, right? Putting all that together, there's nothing like real life experience that teaches you that, better. So, so that's what we're trying to do, scale up these opportunities for students, and certainly, hopefully, what happens here in our backyard in West Lafayette is going to help students even more.
No, I'm excited for that. Yeah.
What do you think is leading to all these new investments in Purdue? Like very recently, I feel like since I came to Purdue, it's just like you're hearing one company this, one company that, just going at Purdue, just giving us money to be better and do things for them.
There was a lot invested in infrastructure, right, in the past couple of years here. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bunch of different things. I'm going to turn that around, and it begins with people. It begins with talent. What companies look for more than anything else is talent, and I think over the last 10 years, at least in engineering, we have been able to attract such a large number of outstanding talents to come to Purdue to do their engineering degrees. Both of you are great examples, right? What companies value more than anything else is talents, right? So, and by the way, the demand for Purdue engineering is soaring. It's really, really high. We get applicants from every part of the country. It's really remarkable how the demand has grown so much. And there's a lot of reasons for it. Top ranked program. We've frozen tuition for such a long time. I think how we handled the pandemic and many of the challenges, with a focus on student choice, was, I think, key in convincing a lot of parents that this is important. Like what Purdue is doing makes sense. And so that led to a big increase and drive in getting top talent. When you start having top talent located here, tech talent, then that's a very intriguing value proposition. The state has always been very pro-business, right? So what Purdue, I think, has been doing intentionally is how do you bring talents, jobs, innovation, working with the government together and have a value proposition for companies that is unmatched. I think that's what's been happening recently. How do you pull this whole ecosystem together to show that you got talents, you got great business ecosystem, and hey, if companies locate here, we can grow jobs, innovation, and talents all together.
I love it.
I think the talent thing really stands out. Like I know in the civil building, at least once a week, there's a company in the commons room, just with a table propped up, and you can walk up to them and talk to them. At least once a week, there's at least one company to talk to. Every week. I feel like most universities don't have that opportunity for kids to just make it that easy to attempt to get an internship or even get one.
Well, talking about civil, we got a big announcement that happened the past month about the merger of the two schools for Lyle's school. So, like, if you don't know, there is a merger happening July 1st, right, when it officially happens, right?
Correct.
Of merging. Well, it's not going to change any of the curriculum. It's going to be under one umbrella, correct?
Yep.
So could you walk through that process of why that happened and the benefits that students should look forward to enrolling in the school?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the construction program started actually 50 years, roughly, back from today. And it really was just seeking to address a need that our construction engineering, company partners were seeing, and that led to they really, thanks to them, we created a great curriculum about the key pieces that need to be there. How do you get the management side of it in there, project management, business, all that in there, and how do you build in the internships, the required internships. So it was a really innovative program to create a new curriculum around it, right? So it started 50 years ago as a great top-notch engineering undergraduate program, which got accredited via ABET, right? So that's been going on for 50 years now, and what we were looking at to see is there a way by which we can get a 1 + 1 = 3. Part of the reason was, I don't know if you're aware, so many of the classes that construction engineering students take are co-labeled. There's a construction, there's a civil, right? So you got civil engineering students who also have a concentration in construction, right? And so there are these jointly labeled. So many of those classes are, at least your core curriculum, is being jointly, done by faculty and that have their salaries, and many of them have some salary coming from this side, coming from the other side, and so the thinking was, is there an opportunity here to how do we do 1 + 1 = 3 out of this? Make opportunities better for our students, and so the idea was, hey, why don't we think about merging it, right? Why haven't we thought about this before? And if you look nationally, this has been happening in a lot of places, or has happened. In fact, they never were separate. They were all offered out of the same program. And what we were excited by were several things. One is when you put things together, it means when you look at faculty and staff, right? Like they don't have to worry about like in life, one of the main principles is it's nice to have one boss at a time, right? Like so when you have dual reportings to two different things, it just makes life more complicated. So part of it was just people who had joint, part of the salary coming from one unit, another unit, like it's complicated. It's just building layers of complications, so it sometimes turns out also to be, difficult to attract, faculty and staff who have these kind of joint appointments because they're like, okay, I've got two bosses, right, or two reporting lines, which becomes and repeating structures, right? I got to go to two different meetings and stuff. So the idea was like, how do we streamline that so everyone like doesn't need to worry about everyone's got just one reporting structure to it. So that simplifies things. It allows us to attract top-notch faculty, right? For example, in the construction area. But what it also does is, cross-pollination on things, right? So there are a class being taught for construction majors that requires, underground, construction, trenchless, kind of stuff. Well, it turns out that there are faculty who are fully in civil engineering who might be able to come in and do a few, lectures there on the geotechnics part of it, right, for example. Yeah. And so suddenly that mixing is happening. Naturally, there's not a wall. Hey, right now, what ends up happening is when you're a faculty, you're in a certain unit, like, okay, you're going to step across the aisle and kind of have to teach, a few in the other. It's complex, right? Okay, how do you do it? Because these are separate business units as well, right? So it becomes difficult. So none of that is going to happen. So we really felt the best expertise of the faculty can flow both ways to help students in both programs. So that was one really important thing. Same thing for staff. There is not a boundary anymore, right? If a staff member who was previously assigned to civil engineering, needs to help students in construction engineering, it's not there. They're all there serving both students, right? So it's very easy to see that, make that happen. So excited for that. I'm also excited by what I see is a real national need today, which actually the boards, both for the construction engineering board and the civil engineering board, when I met them the first time, they asked me, Dean, we need more construction engineers. We need more civil engineers. All right. And one of the challenges, as you all know, is that a lot of the students coming in, everyone's thinking, hey, maybe I want to, become an aero astro or, ME, or increasingly this year, because of semiconductors, suddenly the interest in electrical engineering is going up. Nuclear engineering, students seem to be more interested in that, given what's coming. So one of the challenges is if you look at where students' interests are driven to where their jobs actually are, I would argue that the construction sector alone has probably more jobs available than the aerospace sector has. So how do we get ahead and drive interest in students? And we felt that when civil and construction have a common front end, because they are related, many students take maybe half the classes they're taking are the same. That if they do a common front end outreach to high schools to really show that like this business, this sector is not just about buildings and bridges. It's about building communities, helping people prosper and thrive. That's what it's about in a sustainable way, right? That's what it's really about. So what is really needed is a common front end. We need to high school outreach, trying to get all those things done, better partnerships with industry. Many industries, by the way, are not just purely construction or purely design. They do a mix of both. Easier interface to all industry partners, better outreach to students to get more students' interest to respond better to industry demands. All that. I mean, what's there not to like about it? It's a win-win.
We had a like going back to what you said about like showing high school students about community outreach, building communities. We had a industry partner on like 2 weeks ago, and he said he was in charge of building 2 hospitals, cancer research centers. And he was like, I never wanted to be a doctor, but he says I got to give my part into the healthcare industry and give back to those things.
That's the message we need to send out, right? Like civil and construction engineers build infrastructure that helps people succeed. It's about people. It's really not about when you design a bridge, you're building community, you're bringing communities together. That's the job, right? The bridge is a means to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing for a hospital, right? Better healthcare for communities. A really well-designed and built hospital is what makes it happen. Infrastructure is what makes these big advances possible. And that's the message that needs to go out to this next generation, I think.
Yeah, I didn't really notice that till my first internship. I'm like, wow, I'm actually doing a good for the community around me, to service, actually benefiting everyone else. Even though might not seem on the surface but it truly is.
That's what it is. A bridge is not just a bridge.
Yeah, it's it's a good metaphor, kind of like that, right? Connecting people, right?
Yeah. So.
No, sweet. Well, I want to move on to the MPT program.
Yeah.
So I know this is a new master's program you guys are making, right? It came out this year, this semester, we're gonna call it. So can you walk us through why this happened? And I know you and the Dean Bullard, right, have been making it. So I want to give everyone a rundown what this new major.
Yeah, no, super excited. So just to be clear, this is a degree out of the Daniel School. We are collaborating with them on it. It's a business degree. But it's really exciting because in the future, as we look ahead, this sort of interface between the School of Business and engineering is going to come together very tightly. That's what we see the future is going to be like. Engineering and business, like very closely, tightly woven, right? So in engineering, we have a Master's of Engineering and Management, so you can get an engineering degree, but with Daniel School classes, right? And now this is a new degree where you get a Daniel School degree, but with tech and engineering classes, right, on this side, also computer science. Why I'm excited by this degree is, there has been, over the last few years, this sort of STEM BA programming, how do you make more tech into a standard MBA program for multiple reasons, by the way. The reasons are, on one hand, how tech itself is disrupting business, but also from the point of view that, hey, there's a lot of business leadership that has to happen in a tech-centered company, right? So for both reasons, you want to have that interface, really explore that interface really, really well. And the design of the program is very interesting and unique, in my opinion. It is not adding on. You don't just take an MBA and sort of add on, some components. It is from the get-go designed differently. Most curricula that we have, at least in engineering or in most disciplines, are what I call shaped like a T. It's a T-shaped curriculum. The vertical is going to be about the depth in your field, your discipline, and then the horizontal is going to be about like what other stuff do you need to know, right, to be successful in the profession that you're going to go into, right? So the professional skills piece. But when you design something that's truly interdisciplinary, that T structure doesn't really work because you don't just have one vertical, right? Mm-hmm. So this is what I call more like a pi structure, the letter pi, right? So it's got two legs and a horizontal that builds a professional expertise around it. And it's important to think of it this way because otherwise you can very easily dilute that vertical, right? If you just say vertical plus many other things, but the design of the program is you get a big depth in the business side of things, and you get a depth in the tech side of things. And on the tech side of things, to be focused, because you can easily, as I said, you can kind of smear this many ways, but the design of it is said that on the tech side, there are 4 different tracks. One track is entrepreneurship and IP, which of course the Daniel School is really good at, and they're teaching. There's one in business analytics that again the Daniel School is teaching, but there's one on AI, ML, all that stuff that CS, electrical computer engineering classes are included in that. And then there is one on engineering, what I would call hard tech, right? Because so much of business centers around hard tech as well, right? Including, by the way, the construction business, right? So what I really like about the design is that it's not you choose a track and you get a depth in that track on the tech side of it.
I like that. That's what really. And you also have the capstone right with it too.
And there's a capstone. There are seminar series, professional seminar series, very well designed, the whole thing.
Yeah, I think it was also interesting too. It kind of reminded the CM thing where you got like a mentor with it, right? They were saying, which I thought was pretty interesting. They guide you through again. They're like, again, the best teacher in life is experience. I think so. With that, as you're talking about the exponential learning, going back on that.
I completely agree. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome. Yeah, because I don't know, really intrigued me because I was looking. It's only a year-long course. Too, correct? Okay.
Yep. It's short. And by the way, we're doing many more of these things at the undergraduate level. It'll be a bit late for you guys, but we're going to do a Business Essentials for Engineers certificate program.
Oh, I wish I knew that.
Again, with the Daniel School of Business. So, there's going to be a lot more of that. That interface happens at many different points between the School of Business and Engineering. And so we're going to try and put those together and close the gap. So there's a lot more offerings for students. So we see that as a very exciting future for us at Purdue.
No, that's great. That's awesome. Then to talk about your 2030 vision you have. So it was education, research, and economic development. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to hit on these? I know you talked about economic development already with the semi. Yeah. Right. So how are you going to hit on the research and then education part?
Right. I mean, we're working on the education side. We just want to become, by 2030. We believe that one of the most consequential things we can try to do by 2030 is to be the largest producer of best prepared and most diverse engineering talent in the nation. Super consequential. Like if you really think about how many millions of engineers this country needs more than we currently have, and all the challenges that lay in front of us. And so in this setting, trying to be like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, producer of engineers, Purdue quality engineers, is a big deal. And so we're making great progress on it. We have, when you count the students who are going to be graduating in Indianapolis in our new South Campus, I call it, then we are on track to become the single largest producer of engineers in the country.
Can you?
I'll give you a moment to digest that. We will be producing, if trends hold up, we will be producing more engineers, BS, bachelor's degrees in engineering than any other institution once we count those. That's our projection right now.
That's impressive.
Things could go around.
It seems like there's way more people applying than I feel like in previous years to Purdue engineering. And would you say that's why? Would you say acceptance rates maybe falling a little bit because there's so many more applicants and we're getting the best of the best?
Well, to be frank, our incoming class sizes are also large. It's not like but there's true. I mean, even as we have enrolled more and more students, the demand is, still rising at a faster rate than, what our enrollment is. So we have become a lot more selective. It's become like for out-of-state students, people are like saying it's not like it's going to be hard, right, to get into Purdue engineering. It is, and by the way, first year is also hard. All of all of Purdue engineering, like it's a hard program. It's a tough program, So
I think this engineering part is when I applied to Purdue, my dad just told me to. He's like, it's a good engineering school, and I was just like, okay, I'll send my application on the Common App. And then I got in, and he was like, there's no way you got in. And so I sent him a screenshot of the letter, and he was like, oh, man, you actually got in. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was with my friend, and she had a friend that went here, and she was like, what school did you get into? And I was like, oh, I got into the civil engineering program. I switched after freshman year. And she was like, oh, wow, he got into engineering. And then I went and looked up the rankings, and I was like, oh, wow. Like, I didn't realize it, and now I'm starting – once I got here, I was like, we are a top engineering school.
Oh, we are. And in the undergrad rankings, really high. Civil engineering is now in the top 4 now in the country. And that's the point, the Purdue engineering. I mean, the numbers are there. The consequential goal is there. And by the way, research also, we're going to be doing a lot, with the federal funding. How do we organize ourselves to double the number of large federally funded research centers? Yesterday, I was at a groundbreaking event where on US 231, next time, by the way, you drive past right in front of the INDOT facility, for example, that construction happening there is for putting in dynamic wireless chargers that allow heavy trucks, electric trucks, to charge while they drive over.
That's impressive.
Without stopping anywhere to charge their batteries, right? That technology is being developed as a part of a large engineering research center that has like 90 companies. Purdue plays a key part in it. That is trying to change the underlying economic equations that are important for the future of our electrified infrastructure, right? The issue is wireless charging of cars, has been happening for a while, but to make toll roads commercially viable, you have to be able to charge trucks.
That's going to be, do you know the ins and outs how they're going to charge? Because there's a moving mass going. They have to,
that's right.
I'm trying to think how that's going to work.
So right here, it's going to be in a few months as you drive past, there's a section where, trucks can, that have the right wireless charging stuff underneath it can charge as they drive over. It's a quarter-mile section. They're building in all the things that, you'll get a bill. As you drove over, you charged. This is the bill, that comes in, and you don't stop. Like, can you imagine how that completely changes freight and logistics?
Mm-hmm. That will, yeah.
The country, that you don't have to stop to get gas.
Yep. Can you
Imagine that?
That's pretty impressive. Because isn't there a Cybertruck right now with that
That's
Tesla's
right.
doing?
Yeah, the Tesla is doing that. So anyhow, I bring all this up because that's an example of a massive federal research center with like much more buy-in from and contributions from the private sector. That's moving the needle and doing massive, very consequential things. And so our goal is to kind of double the number of such centers by 2030 that we have.
That's
not because of just the money, but because they need large partnerships, many people coming together. In this case, it's the INDOT, the DOT of Utah, many other states coming together to try and make the infrastructure happen, right? You need money to bring a lot of people together to do big things, and I want us to do many more big, bold things. That's how we become consequential as an engineering college in the nation.
Do you see a lot of schools overlapping with their research? Like the civil engineering school, and I would say this has to be part of the ECE school for this technology. Do you see a lot of that happening?
Yeah, no, certainly in the civil and construction area, there's so much now of a intersection with ECE and computer science and all these things happening. And I think it's about making infrastructure a lot smarter. Like reinforced, concrete and structures. But then as we look into the future of infrastructure, it's not just about maintaining the infrastructure and making it smart so we can, make sure when to maintain it or where to maintain it or how to maintain it. It's not just about that. It's about the purpose of the infrastructure is changing with electrification, for example, right? So we're now using the infrastructure. We're going to be delivering electricity through the same infrastructure. Traditionally, power lines are considered different from roads or bridges. You're going to see more of that, like how do they come together? How do they merge, right? And now we're going to be seeing things that, hey, some of the biggest consumer, if all this holds true and, our future is going to be electrified roads and stuff, then the roads become a big consumer from the national grid. Think about that. I mean, who would have thought that these things, are connected?
You never have to stop.
You never have to stop.
That's pretty. It's kind of like a train, though.
It's like a train,
Yeah,
exactly,
okay.
exactly.
Keeps going,
right? So, I mean, of course, this is all in the future. We'll see how it works out, but really excited about, the fact that one of the oldest disciplines, civil engineering, the first engineering discipline, along with military engineering, as we know it, like now it's become so cross-cutting, with tech. So this is going to be a trend in the future, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. We're kind of short in time here, but I want why I feel like let's say a high schooler, right? They're coming to Purdue. What advice would you give them, and why Purdue if they do choose?
Yeah, no, again, my pitch to students and parents. So there's 5 important reasons why I think if you get in, which is not easy, but 5 reasons to really do this. Like 1, it's Purdue engineering. The brand is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's going to open doors in ways that you can't imagine. It is an absolute elite engineering degree, absolutely top-notch education. Seriously, there are not too many other brands. Maybe 2. There's one other brand, perhaps, as strong in engineering as Purdue is. Honestly, I feel. Second, look at the price point. It's so affordable. It's incredible, right? How does that? It's incredible if you think about it, right? The third important piece, I think, is this idea that you don't necessarily have to. You may have your educational preference. You may want to do civil engineering, but half our students, they kind of change their minds in the first year, which is fantastic, right? So you have a chance to kind of explore and see what you want to. And by the way, if you know what major you're going to do, we now have an option there too in Indianapolis. You can do the same major, and there you get direct enrolled in the majors too, right? So we got both options. You like this, we got this. You like that, we got that. Very student choice based, right? In that sense, so really excited for that. I think the fourth important thing is this whole notion of experiential learning. It is really, really big here, right? Our students, 95+% of our students who graduate have done internships or co-ops. Industries love our students. This year, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a graduating senior who has not got 2 or more offers.
Yes.
That's the demand, right? It's absolutely incredible. And so the experiential part, whether it's through epics, VIP, capstone design, all those things, and internships and co-ops, is unparalleled. We are amongst the best in the country, for that. And that experiential learning is not just through epics, VIP, project-based learning, capstone design, and through internships and co-ops. There's a third dimension, which is the student clubs. And, in my podcast, I talked about some of the student clubs because I'm seeing a whole lot of innovation happening in student clubs where people are building. It's amazing what's going on, and, our students are just phenomenal. So I think between the 3, between student clubs, between hands-on learning and project-based, experiences, co-ops, study abroads, all these internships, all these things, that combination, that trifecta, is unmatched here at Purdue Engineering. And lastly, I really think that this is a safe and welcoming environment for students. I mean, honestly, in West Lafayette, it's such a welcoming, diverse community. It's safe. It's one of the safest college campuses in the country, right? So you can sit and, as you know it, you get to focus on work and studies, right? That's what you do here. And oh, by the way, if you feel that you want an urban environment, we have that option too for you in our South Campus in Indianapolis, right? So we got both. So it's student choice driven. And so again, for these 5 reasons, why would you not come to Purdue Engineering if you got it?
Great
honestly.
Sales pitch.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm sold again. I'm sold again. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for making time today and this morning and influencing the youth with the podcast. We appreciate it. And if you guys want to hear more about Dean Raman, you can check out his podcast, Ingenuity, correct?
Correct, yeah.
I really liked your episodes, the 2 you posted. So,
Great.
yeah, with it.
More's a coming.
No, I'm excited. I really like it. The one the concrete self-healing one.
Yeah,
That was
right,
interesting.
right.
I really liked it.
Right.
Well, thank you guys. This has been a big slice on the mic.
Tommy over here.
And guys, hammer down
The week.